Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. You're allowed to like whatever you want, and you're allowed to dislike whatever you want. YouTubers shouldn't have to tell you that, but apparently we all have to make these disclaimers now because so many precious idiots feel personally attacked when someone expresses an opinion they don't share. And that steers us toward the root of this video. This isn't about Kathleen Kennedy, or J.J. Abrams, or Ryan Johnson, or this billionaire. You won't hear their names uttered again in this video. And while this video will mention plot points from the 3 films in the sequel trilogy, so I guess I have to give all the fragile whiners out there the official spoiler alert message, this video isn't really about the 3 movies either. No, this video is about the most mind-boggling and insane thing to come out of the past 4 years since The Force Awakens: the sequel trilogy's fans. The genesis of this began almost 2 weeks ago, when a business acquaintance of mine who's a TV producer posted about going to see The Rise of Skywalker and said, quote, "Just go watch it. Don't overthink it." I won't say this was out of character. He's in the entertainment industry. He's part of the game. Whether he used to be an inspired artist, I cannot say, but now he's another used car salesman in the biz, and it has clearly bled over into how he consumes these products in his own life. Give us money, watch it, don't think during it, get more money, go watch the next thing. To say this is a jaded way to operate is an understatement, but I can't help but wonder if people like him are aware of how jaded they've become while maintaining that pasted-on smile of perennial artificial positivity. Soon afterward, I saw posts from 2 other peers. These were fellow YouTubers, influencers in the pop culture space. The first person did the whole "I don't get involved in the hate" thing. He then claimed he loves anything and everything Star Wars. Sounds positive on its face, but what's really going on there is the same as my producer friend. Don't think about it, just like it no matter what. It carries the implication that any misgivings you have about a movie are not allowed or even realistic. To feel anything akin to criticism is to be filled with hate. It's an extreme and manipulative message that enthusiastically encourages vacuous consumerism. The next 3 words on a post from another YouTuber were the ones that burst the dam that is my patience. Quote, "Canon is overrated." This didn't set me off immediately, mind you. I agreed with the sentiment. As you know, Lucasfilm's first action under Disney was to announce the erasure of all expanded universe content and replace it with comics, books, and games that would be automatically canonized. What followed since 2012 has been a largely underwhelming and inferior but canonized Star Wars universe that is the definition of overrated. When I said as much, I didn't expect what happened next. The YouTuber went on a mini missive espousing his frustration with franchise superfans who were concerned with minutia and said he preferred to focus on story and character, which is hilarious because that's literally what the people who don't like these movies are complaining about. I responded that from where I was standing, underdeveloped story and underdeveloped characters were some of the main problems with Disney's current spate of Star Wars films. He became obviously irritated with me, so I saw myself out rather than continue the discussion. But what blew me away more was his counterintuitive claim that Canon is overrated, even as he defended the products of a company so obsessed with the marketing of Canon that they threw 25 years of Star Wars content in the trash. Seemed like a lack of self-awareness on his part. By definition, canon is a list of works considered to be permanently established as being of the highest quality. Traditionally, canon in a franchise involves ensuring that events from one story do not contradict or undermine the logic of events from another. To do that well involves managing details. This YouTuber, of his own accord, started a channel obsessed with the most minute details within his own topic of discussion to an almost OCD level, so it made no sense to me that he was suddenly railing against an interest in details. To ensure a franchise has a well-constructed canon, an eye for detail is not just preferred, it's mandatory. And yet the fans of this new sequel trilogy do not accept that. They have told me they willfully disregard these problems, that they do not care about the many screenwriting shortfalls or the inferiority of the end product as a result. They insist they like it anyway because they don't think about such things. Yet to a person, they cannot tell me why they like these movies with any substantive specifics. Many of the people I know who are fans of these films, when confronted with the big connective problems with this trilogy, willingly concede that the trilogy doesn't marry up to the saga well, nor do the three films marry up to each other well. But like a kid putting his fingers in his ears and yelling, they prefer to ignore these thoughts. And that would be fine if that was the end of it. People with their fingers in their ears watching mediocre movies isn't a crisis. Unfortunately, despite the ease of which these fans are entertained, they have made a concerted effort to silence criticism of these films and make life difficult for anyone on social media who has asked for better films and stories. And I know their behavior firsthand. While I've spent the past 8 years mainly discussing Star Wars toys, I haven't really made much of the movies on Retroblasting. Sure, I've spoken about them on other podcasts and channels occasionally, but I'm not a movie review channel. That doesn't stop the Star Wars fanbase from making my life a living hell a few times each year. Whether it's a rinky-dink Star Wars podcaster libeling me on Twitter in a fumbled attempt to character assassinate me, some wacko accusing me of making up an Australian person, the constant incorrect drumbeat that I hate all modern Star Wars things, or the crackpot take that I moonlight as a distributor of Star Wars toys under another name and business, my patience with the mainstream Star Wars fanbase has run out. I've heard every possible defense by these fans against people who don't like these movies. It's a vocal, toxic minority of fans who are against diversity. It's Russian bots online stirring up discord. It's internet trolls. The descriptions get worse, but if I get more specific, YouTube could come after this video, and I don't want that to happen. But here's the thing. The vast majority of online critics of these films aren't demanding less diversity or fewer women. I'm sure there are people out there who have, because the internet is a horrible place, but the big players in this space aren't doing that. In fact, a number of them are women and people of color. They simply want better written stories that respect the logic and continuity of the universe in which they are written. They're tired of Bush League writing that beaches the mythology of Star Wars. And unlike some, they can't force themselves to like everything with a Star Wars logo on it. Quality matters to a lot of people. The best stories possible matter to a lot of people. And yet the irony here is that the pro-Disney fans telling these critics to shut up have been very vocal about how much doesn't matter to them. These fans liked The Force Awakens despite a laundry list of problems they also acknowledge. The amount of issues that doesn't bother them is truly a feat for the Guinness Book. No explanation for where the First Order came from or how the First Order became so powerful doesn't matter to them. No explanation for why the New Republic isn't fighting the First Order doesn't matter to them. No explanation for why the Resistance can't get more support from other allies doesn't matter to them. No explanation for where the First Order got the resources to turn a planet into a superweapon doesn't matter to them. No explanation for how Rey knows how to use all kinds of force powers without any training doesn't matter to them. Why does Rey know how to speak droid and Wookiee automatically? Doesn't matter to them. How would Han Solo ever lose the Millennium Falcon? Doesn't matter to them. Would Han really run away from Leia and his own son? Seems out of character? Doesn't matter to them. No explanation for how Luke's lightsaber was found? Doesn't matter to them. They killed Han Solo like a doofus? Doesn't matter to them. Luke isn't in the movie? Doesn't matter to them. R2-D2 isn't in the movie? Doesn't matter to them. The hero beats the villain in hand-to-hand combat without any training? Doesn't matter to them. These fans liked The Last Jedi despite a spate of problems they also acknowledge. The amount of issues that doesn't bother them is almost impossible to summarize. No explanation for why, despite the Resistance winning in the last movie and blowing up the First Order's biggest weapon, the First Order is still so much more powerful than the Resistance doesn't matter to them. Why would Luke leave a map to find him if all he wanted to do was hide and die? Doesn't matter to them. Why would Luke throw his lightsaber over a cliff? Doesn't matter to them. Why is Luke such an awful jerk. Doesn't matter to them. Seriously, going really slow is the Resistance strategy? Doesn't matter to them. The Resistance leader won't explain her plan? Doesn't matter to them. Force ghosts can interact with physical objects now? Doesn't matter to them. This doesn't matter to them. Luke tried to kill his nephew in his sleep? Doesn't matter to them. This doesn't matter to them. Snoke being killed without any agency? Doesn't matter to them. Hyperspace used as a weapon? Doesn't matter to them. The First Order's endless supply of vehicles and weapons even after their fleet is decimated? Doesn't matter to them. Luke being an illusion that can apparently bring physical objects with him? Doesn't matter to them. Luke just dying because reasons? Doesn't matter to them. These fans liked The Rise of Skywalker despite a chronicle of problems they also acknowledge. The amount of issues in this film they've decided do not bother them could fill the mines of Moria. Despite abandoning her training, Leia is a Jedi Master? Doesn't matter to them. No explanation for how the Emperor survived the Death Star explosion? Doesn't matter to them. No explanation for how the Emperor made it back to his secret Snoke cloning facility? Doesn't matter to them. No explanation for how the Emperor had a family and with whom? Doesn't matter to them. No explanation for how the Emperor had the resources and manpower to build a super fleet of Death Star destroyers inside a space glacier? Doesn't matter to them. Jedi are now able to force heal other beings, calling into question why this ability wasn't used to save countless characters in previous Star Wars films? Doesn't matter to them. Jedi can now send objects and themselves anywhere through the Force. So what's the point of spaceships again? Doesn't matter to them. Rey is in love with the guy who murdered his own dad and tried to murder his own mom? Doesn't matter to them. Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter? Doesn't matter to them. The Emperor being alive destroys Anakin and Luke's character arcs? Doesn't matter to them. Rey being Palpatine's granddaughter and winning the final battle implies only a Palpatine could defeat another Palpatine and negates every single effort made by the Skywalkers? Doesn't matter to them. All of the Skywalkers are dead, implying Palpatine won the entire chessboard in the end? Doesn't matter to them. Where the hell did that yellow lightsaber come from? Doesn't matter to them. Rey just calls herself a Skywalker in the end? Doesn't matter to them. I have to ask the people who like these movies, if none of this stuff matters, what exactly does matter to you in these films? What is Star Wars in your mind if it doesn't connect logically to the previous events and characters? What's left in these films that you define as Star Wars? I guess it's, well, this. I had a fan of these movies tell me after The Last Jedi release that you have to understand it to like it. While it's kind of sad to admit none of these things mattered to you and you like the movies anyway, at least that's honest. What's dishonest is to say these films make sense. Let me tell you something, if you believe you understand these movies, you aren't smarter than everyone else. You're delusional. You can't say in one breath that you acknowledge these problems with the story and in the next breath say the movies make sense. You've already admitted you're not big on paying attention to details, so asserting comprehension is a really thin and contradictory argument on your part.
This is thin, Riggs. This is very thin.
This is anorexic.
And just a quick personal side note, if you are a social media content creator who has ever, without irony or sarcasm, recommended to your audience not to think about something, you should be ashamed. But here's the most important issue. Since so much of this trilogy doesn't bother you, so much, why do you care that other people are asking for better? You've pretty much outed yourself at this point as a person who believes disliking anything Star Wars is hate. You've all but said you'll take anything Disney makes. You're up for whatever. So why on earth do you turn your guns on other fans who are asking for better movies? Disney either listens to the fans and makes some changes to their Star Wars products, or they disregard it and don't. Either way, you'll get more Star Wars stuff. So why are you inserting yourself into this discussion at all? When your latitude for what's acceptable is so wide and undefined, you have effectively disqualified yourself from being a part of this discussion. Telling others not to think too much, telling them that any questioning is the equivalent of hate, that only earns you a place at the kiddie table and a sippy cup. I swear I could sell you guys cars without wheels, and you'd find a way in your head to be totally fine with that and tell people how awesome the car is, even though we both know it literally can't go anywhere. Your message has been loud and clear. You don't want people criticizing these movies. It's harshing your buzz. But if your first preference is to silence a product improvement discussion from even happening, you should be the first person to walk away from the debate, because you'll take whatever. Remember? Since the dawn of retail, products have only gotten better due to customer input and pushback. Taking the car comparison a step further, Star Wars as a brand used to be a really great sports car that everyone could aspire to own, like a Shelby Mustang. But the way you Disney fans have presented your arguments, we should all be content with the new Ford Pinto Star Wars and shut up and like it. Telling Disney we want a car that doesn't blow up in a rear-end collision is apparently unacceptable, because you'll take whatever. I remember the same attitude when the prequels came out. We wanted better, and you guys told us to shut up and like what we had been given. And lately, through misleading memes, you've tried to generalize and simplify our arguments as the prequels were different and they complained, and now the sequels are too similar so they complained. They hate everything. That's disingenuous on a mercenary level. I've been in this game since 1982, and I've never heard anyone say they wanted the prequels to be exactly like the original trilogy. They just wanted a better script with better developed characters and a tighter respect for story continuity. And that's the exact same argument here. The haters' message for decades hasn't changed, and neither has yours. You love it all, and you're happy with whatever. Now, maybe you guys haven't noticed, but you're actually getting everything you want from the studios. You have nothing to complain about. So when you fight with us in discussions and attack our positions, you are kicking fellow fans who just want Star Wars to be the best it can be. Instead, you could just move along, go home, and continue to endlessly enjoy modern Star Wars. There is literally nothing stopping you. You have zero to be bitter about. So it must be about your want to control our opinions and feelings, which frankly is really weird. We're trying to improve Star Wars, you're trying to control other people. Star Wars used to be a gourmet meal. Since 1997, it's been handfuls of Doritos. You guys constantly profess how much you like endless Doritos, and you're being given them. So enjoy your orange fingers and don't debate Star Wars online anymore with people who disliked these movies. You're the winners. The corporate focus group gods love good little Oompa Loompas like you, and have chosen your want for Doritos over the magical feast of the past. Sit in your chair in front of the TV, put on your Holdo wig, enjoy the spoils of your victory, and stay out of these discussions you claim cause you so much angst and pain. You've acknowledged the writing is kinda sloppy, and you're okay with that. So eat your slop and don't concern yourself with what comes next, because whether it's pure corporate Disney or Disney mixed with fan input, you'll take whatever. Remember? I'm sure I'll lose subscribers over this video. I'm sure I might even lose patrons. But right now, if you're aghast and feeling betrayed because I don't agree with your opinion that I've never heard, I dare you to do something different. Instead of giving into that reflex that wants to shame me or take down my channel, why not try being friends with someone that disagrees with you over a movie? I dare you to give it a try.